Hello, our viewers and audience, and welcome to yet another episode of the Interfaith Action for Peace Forum, or the Interfaith Forum. This is a forum of the Interfaith Action for Peace, where we are discussing and bringing together leaders from different religious backgrounds, primarily Islam and Christianity, to discuss how to build capacities for the spiritual, economic, intellectual and cultural enhancement of society and the peaceful coexistence of religious groups in Nigeria. And one of our initiatives is this very program called the IFAP Forum. Today we will discuss the topic, the Golden Rule and Religious Ideals. With us today to discuss that, we have two highly esteemed guests. And to my left is Dr. Paddy Njoku. Dr. Paddy Njoku is the president of the Chartered Institute of Mediators and Conciliators. Dr. Njoku, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
We also have Malam Abubakar Sadeeq Muhammed, who is a member of the Muslim Consultative Forum here in Abuja. Malam Abubakar Sadeeq, you are most welcome once again to this forum.
Thank you very much.
My name is Bashir Mundi, and I shall be moderating this hopefully very exciting and incisive discussion with these two gentlemen. Let me start with you, Dr. Njoku. We all know this golden rule, love for others what you love for yourself, and it's said in different ways in different cultures and so on. Does such a golden rule exist in Christianity, and what would be the Christian expression or version of this golden rule?
Well, it exists amply in the Christian faith. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 39, a lawyer who felt he was very erudite asked Jesus Christ, our Lord, what is the greatest commandment? And Jesus said, the greatest commandment is that you must love your God with your whole mind, with your whole soul, and with your whole heart. But second to that, you must love your neighbor as you love yourself, because you don't see the Almighty God to love with your whole mind and whole heart. You perceive him, you imagine him, but this love can always be translated through your love of neighbor. And in another section in St. Luke's Gospel, he also said that you must do unto others as you would wish them to unto you. With these two verses of the Bible, you can understand that the prime concern of the Christian faith is love of neighbor. In fact, he went further to say that if you love your friend, you haven't achieved anything. You should rather love your enemy. Further, I want to say you should love your enemy, because the Almighty God who created you is a lover of sinners.
So to love your friend is not good enough?
It's not good enough. I mean, you haven't achieved anything.
Interesting.
You must go further than that. For you to show that you have actually done well and achieved something, you go further to love your enemy. And that's why he said, if somebody slaps you on this cheek, you should turn the other cheek. That is when you actually prove that, yes, I'm not just as ordinary as this person. On my personal level, I always say that the greatest revenge you can take on an enemy is forgiveness. By the time you forgive him, you make him feel so sorry about having debased himself. And I further it by saying that if a dog bites you, you don't bend down to bite the dog. Because the dog is more adept at biting than you.
Yes.
If a goat goes you don't develop horns overnight to go back.
The goat, yeah.
Otherwise, you become two goats and you'll be a lesser goat.
Yes.
So the Christian doctrine very much emphasizes love of neighbor, forgiveness of the enemy, and of course turning the other cheek.
Interesting. I think that's very beautiful, especially the part that it's not to love your friend is easy to do, but to love your enemy is actually the more interesting achievement. But concerning, you know, biting the dog, you know, there was an incident like that recently of a man who actually bit a dog. So, of course, the reason why it's news is that it's something absolutely strange.
He must have become a lesser dog.
In fact, you know, someone with mental issues and so on. Let me come over to you now, Ustaz Abubakar.
Yeah.
What would be the Islamic articulation of this golden rule?
When doctor was talking, I was all along nodding because it's like he's speaking from my perspective. There is this hadith which says, لا يؤمن أحدكم, quoting the Arabic with your permission, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. None of you truly believes until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself. Now, the mistake we make usually in translating this prophetic saying, we assume your brother to be your brother in faith. But An-Nawawi, in his interpretation of the hadith, says, Akhihi here denotes universal brotherhood. Is not confined to one who is a brother in your faith. So it covers everybody, including the non-Muslims. And what is requested of you is to love what you want. Let also you desire for that person the same thing that you want for yourself. Where you fail to do that in respect of a Muslim or a non-Muslim, then you are envious of that person. And envy is not good because you want the favor that Allah has bestowed on him to go and maybe revert to you or to go elsewhere. Why would you envy when the one who has given him his resource is inexhaustible? You can ask him and he can grant same. On the issue of the enemy that he mentioned, the Muslim scholars have another saying where they say, "Izra jamilan wala fi ghayri mawdi'ihi wa la yadhi'u jamilun aynama zira." Do good, whatever you like that is good, do it to another person. Be courteous, be kind to that other person, even where you think that courtesy or kindness is wrongly placed. Because anything you do good will not disappear, it will revert back to you. When you do good to another person, you are doing good to your own self because it's coming back to you. So where you love what is good and you hope for another person to have the same thing, you are also doing it to yourself because it's going to come back.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I find it quite interesting and I think instructive that you are basically both saying the same things.
Of course.
Albeit with, you know, the nuances of your respective faiths.
Yeah.
But Islam and Christianity on this issue of the golden rule are saying basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, I was going to lead off to another question, but it's very good you had already gone in that direction of, you know, is this golden rule, this loving for your neighbor what you love for yourself, or doing unto others what you would have done unto you, whether it only applied, you know, in an intrafaith setting, you know, Muslim to Muslim, but you've explained that, or Christian to Christian. You know, this goes really beyond just a relationship between people of the same faiths.
Yeah.
Now, what I'd like to ask further, how do you think that the application of this golden rule, how do you think it can impact, or it will impact on interfaith relations? If we all observe the golden rule, what would happen to interfaith relations between Christians and people of other faiths, Dr. Njoku?
Okay, let me not quote any Bible or any Quran, but let me give you my life example.
Excellent.
I was going to hire a driver, and I got a Muslim driver. And I asked him, do you go to mosque? He said yes. On Fridays, he said yes. Can you drive me to church on Sundays? He said, very good. So we started living together, and people said, no, why do you take a Muslim driver? You are there in the church and this and that. Why do you take? I said, the man has agreed to take me to church every Sunday. And some 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, I broke my leg, this left leg, in a novelty match in the church. By that time, my driver, Lawan, had become one of my closest friends. One of the best men I've ever worked with. I say men, not drivers. So one thing touched me. The day I was coming back from hospital after spending some days, Lawan carried me physically. I was living upstairs. I could not walk. Lawan carried me like a baby.
Interesting.
Up to my bedroom and lay me on the bed. After some time I was walking with crutches. He would always help me down into the car. And we got on like that. He's been my best driver ever, but unfortunately Lawan died some 3 years ago. I had to put an obituary, a full-page obituary inside the magazine for Lawan.
Interesting.
To show you the closeness that had developed, not just between me and him, but between the whole family. Everybody in my village knew him. He was just a good man. Now, if he and I had dwelt on any prejudices, that no, I'm not going to drive this man because he's a Christian, that relationship would not have flowered. Or if I had had any mental blocks that no, I cannot try a Muslim driver, as some people were saying. So we developed a relationship that is still existing, because I'm still very much in touch with his widow and his children, because he was a good friend. So the point is, we must be able to break the barriers that might have been put by people who actually were acting out of ignorance. And I tell people, the word wicked exists in Hausa, it exists in Igbo, in English, in Arabic. So it's, if there's a wicked person from the other religion, it's not wicked because he's from the other religion. It's because he is probably wicked, and you could help him. So the point then is that some of the misconceptions that have been nursed, that have grown into stereotypes, have to be dealt with, especially at our level of the interfaith dialogue. As I tell you, the best driver I've had has been a Muslim, and I don't reduce him to the level of a driver. He's been one of my best friends, one of my closest persons working together. He lived in the same house with me. We ate the same food, and we became great friends. So I think this is something we can preach to everybody. Try the other man. Don't be scared away by any stereotype of tribe, of religion, of creed, or whatever. Try the man in him.
Of course.
And of course, if you find him not acceptable, see whether you can do anything to help that person become a better person. Because, as I'm telling you, I mean, I wasn't an angel to Lawan. Lawan wasn't to me. We helped ourselves and nurtured a very good relationship.
Interesting. So you met, you accepted him at a very human level. You're a human being, I'm a human being.
Sure.
Interesting.
Sure.
Interesting.
And we nurtured a good relationship.
Interesting. That's a very, very interesting story. Would you agree, Ustaz, and would you like to add something to that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I once mentioned the case of my neighbor. I have discussed my Christian neighbor. It's not something that was just created like a fiction. It's a reality. I mean, the neighbor lives, and it's really a compound of other tenants. I am proud to say that I was closer to my Christian neighbor than other neighbors in the compound that are Muslims. If anything should happen to me, he would be the first to know. When I travel, he comes to my family every morning to check on them, whether they needed anything, and so on. And I eat from him, he eats from my house. We are like a family. I have a company which I manage, and in that company we are agents, travel agents with buyers in Hajj and Umrah, which is purely religious exercise. But we have two Christians working with us. We have Matthew and we have Jacob. Everybody can go to the company. Whoever is watching this and listening has met them. Some people came and said, why would you employ Christians to work in Hajj and Umrah business? I said, okay, tell me why I will not employ Christians to work in Hajj and Umrah business where they know what they are doing and they are Nigerians. Whatever we are doing to provide jobs and so on, we are doing it for Nigerians, not. And there was an interview and they excelled others. So we are looking for the best, and the best happens to be a Christian. And why not take him? What is wrong with that? Yes.
Interesting.
And they are one of the some of the best staffs that we have. I mean, members of staff. They are one of the best. They are part of our staff that is competent and is doing a lot for the company.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now let me turn to you, Father Njoku. Oh, sorry, Dr. Njoku, I'm sorry. We're dealing with Reverend Fathers, etc. Although you are a father of a different sort.
Well, thank you.
Now, this is really excellent, is beautiful, is very nice ideals, you know, to love for others what you love for yourself. But when you're dealing with people who have wronged you, you know, who have killed family members or close ones, or people of your community, for instance, people who have been unjust to you, is it still okay to treat these people as, you know, according to this golden rule, if they have actually been oppressors and aggressors and tyrants and so on? Would this still apply? And if so, why should it apply?
Well, I think this country, in that regard, still has something to teach the rest of the world. At the end of the Nigerian Civil War, the government of the time, headed by the present retired Dr. Yakubu Gowon, retired General Dr. Yakubu Gowon, said that the policy was no victor, no vanquished, and embarked on the 3 R's of reconciliation and reconstruction and rehabilitation. I think it is quite exemplary, even though it happened at the national level, that we should imbibe it at our personal life levels. Because if you go through the history of the world, it is rare where people lost 1 million souls and a war ended on the 13th of January and stopped that day. There were no guerrilla in the bush, continued to fight until they are finally defeated, and there are no bombings and sabotage and so on and so forth. So I think it's something that we should all imbibe. It's difficult. It's difficult to come and wine and dine with an enemy, in quote, a former enemy. But I think that is the moral, spiritual burden that we have to carry if we want to show that we have evolved above our animal level. If we want to show that we've made spiritual progress, we should be able to say, let me rise above certain emotions. Let me sublimate the emotion of revenge and show that I'm a greater being than this person who inflicted this injury on me. because you remember the Mosaic law is an eye for an eye. But today we say, if we live by the rule of an eye for an eye, the world will be full of one-eyed men. And so we must start realizing that the greatest revenge you can inflict on somebody is forgiveness. If you look the person in the eye and say, you wronged me, but I'm no longer at that level, that person will feel humbled by you. But once you retaliate, you are at par. If the person wronged you, wounded you because he's animalistic, once you wound him back, two of you are animals. And this is what we should be looking at our interfaith dialogue.
That's right.
Very good.
And that reminds me.
Excellent.
What we do now is not even an eye for an eye law of retribution. We have descended to a lesser level, which is what we do is an eye for another eye. When an eye for an eye is where I remove somebody's eyes, my own eyes should be removed. But what we do now is somebody removed someone else's eyes somewhere, and you look at his kind around you, and you remove that person's eye. Since Muslims have done wrong somewhere, you look for Muslims around. They are all the same. Christians did something wrong somewhere, you look for a peace-loving person that you have known all throughout your life to be peaceful, and now you retaliate on him. That is more animalistic.
It's not. Excuse me, I have a theory.
Yeah.
It is minimalistic. The person is a manimal.
At a doctorate level, that is.
It's a man
Manimal, yes, it's a man animal. That's, he combines the bad qualities of an animal with the bad qualities of a man, and becomes more dangerous than an animal or a man. A dog will not start pursuing your daughter or your son because you wronged him yesterday.
No, by the smell, he knows exactly.
You understand?
Oh, you're right, you're right.
But when a man decides to do that, because you wronged me in Sokoto, and you're somebody that believes in what you believed in, wronged me in Sokoto last month.
Yes.
So this month, let me deal with you. Then it's a manimal.
You know, gentlemen, I've really learned a new vocabulary here. Manimal, manimalistic. Even though I'm not sure that does justice to animals, because I think the way that we human beings behave in circumstances like this is worse even than that of animals.
Yes.
I think it's been a very wonderful discussion. It appears as though we're just really getting into it, but our time is really running down. I can see the surprise on Ustaz Abubakar's face. But I want to thank both you gentlemen, and I hope that the points that you've raised, the personal examples especially that you've given, inspires others and allows others to see that our religions are not as they are being stereotyped by many, even people who are adherents of these same religions. Our viewers and audience back at home, I hope that we enjoyed this program. I hope that we learned from this program. I hope that we imbibe the spirit of the golden rule: do unto others as you would like them to do unto you, or to treat your neighbor as you would want them to treat you. We have heard from the scriptures, from the Gospels of Matthew and Luke, and we have also heard from the Islamic sources. Ustaz Abubakar quoted some ahadith and sayings of scholars to buttress this point. So let the golden rule, which has operated in the universe from time immemorial, rule your life. Let it reflect your values. Let it reflect your beliefs. Whatever those beliefs are, whether they are those of a Muslim or of a Christian or of a Jew or of whatever other religion, the golden rule is something that all faiths seem to have in common. That is, doing unto others as you would want them to do unto you. I would like to thank you, Dr. Njoku, for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Also, Ustaz Abubakar Sadeeq,
You're welcome.
thank you very much for being with us. Well, our viewers and audience, I am your host, Bashir Mundi, saying join us next time, continue living with the golden rule, and always remember, keep the faith and keep the peace.